The Caltech scientists received me cordially and talked freely about their adventures in working on the bomb. I remember one physicist telling me, for instance, how he drove to the Trinity test site in New Mexico with the dread plutonium core in the back seat of his car. But to a man, one after another, they warned me so earnestly not to try to see Richard Feynman that I began to think of him as a human plutonium core. However, I had nothing to lose, so I did try. And somehow I found myself in his office, talking to a lean guy in white shirt sleeves with long hair and a sharply humorous countenance, calling to mind a bust of Voltaire. It didn't go well at first. "You know," he said as I groped to explain my purpose, "while you're talking, you're not learning anything." So I blurted out baldly, any old way, my vision of a fiction work throwing a rope around the whole global war. As I spoke, an enigmatic look came over that strong face, something like remote tolerant amusement. "Well, that's the sort of thing genius reaches out for," he said, and he took over the conversation. In swift strokes, Feynman brought the entire Manhattan Project to life, the excitement and the perils alike, mentioning that once in a laboratory corridor he passed uranium materials stacked so carelessly that a chain reaction was within a whisker of going off. His main point was that the whole enterprise was gigantically messy, and that the atomic bomb was by no means at a frontier of science. He put it so: it wasn't a lion hunt, it was a rabbit shoot. There was no Nobel Prize, that is to say, in the concept or the calculations. It was just a challenge, if a huge one, to audacious, innovative technology and brute industrial effort. This formidable fellow walked out of the building with me and said as we were parting, "Do you know calculus?" I admitted that I didn't. "You had better learn it," he said. "It's the language God talks." Calculus. I never forgot Feynman's admonition, promising myself that I would get at calculus once I had written my big war novel, which I thought might take 4 or 5 years. It became 2 novels, each about 1,000 pages long, and the task engulfed my life from my late 40s well into my 60s, the better part of 2 decades. Toward the end, I had a strong sense of racing the calendar to finish it before I died. All that while, the language God talks had to wait. After that, I did make several separate attempts to learn calculus, all recorded in a loose-leaf notebook which I still have. I tried self-teaching out of books with titles like Calculus Made Easy. I picked up and skimmed freshman texts in college bookstores, hoping to come across one that might help a mathematical ignoramus like me, who had spent his college years in the humanities, that is, literature and philosophy, in an adolescent quest for the meaning of existence, little knowing that calculus, which I had heard of as a difficult bore leading nowhere, was the language God talks, or as one noted Jewish microbiologist, also a Torah scholar, commented to me with a grin, his other language. I even engaged a tutor, an Israeli, figuring to improve my spoken Hebrew while learning calculus. A dumb idea, and I advanced in neither. Lastly, desperately, I got permission to audit a high school course in calculus. I actually hung out with the teenagers for a couple of months, but I fell too far behind and had to withdraw, with a few farewell words to them about the preciousness of knowing calculus. As I was walking out of the classroom, a patter of applause surprised me, a sympathy hand in showbiz parlance for the defeated, departing old codger. In short, calculus remains a thick glass wall between me and most truths in Feynman's world where he hears God talk. Gell-Mann. The Nobel laureate Mary Gell-Mann, Feynman's colleague and rival at Caltech, was no man to mince words.